Okay, let's start. So, welcome to session 3 of SquiggleDAO Curated Traits, and today we are talking about monochromes and rainbows. First, let's do a little recap of the main characteristics of a squiggle. We covered them on the first and second sessions, but just to make sure everyone is on the same page, because that's going to be useful to understand better this session. And characteristics of a squiggle. First, we have the segments. And these three are the main characteristics. Segments go from 12 to 20, and that's the length of a squiggle. So those squiggles with 12 segments are shorter, and they look really clean. And squiggles with 20 segments are longer and look much more complex and interesting, as you can see. And also regarding color hues, the longer the squiggle, the more color hues it will display. So if we are looking for rainbows, we want long squiggles. If we are looking for monochromes, we will be looking for short squiggles. The second characteristic, the color spread, goes from 5 to 50 and is the distance between colors. So the shorter the distance, the more rapidly those colors are going to change. And for colorful squiggles, we want low color spreads, low distance between colors, and the opposite for monochromatic squiggles, as you can see. And finally, the third characteristic, the steps, those are type dependent. So Slinkies and pipes always have 50 steps. Normal ribs and balls are 200, and fuzzies have 1000. And the more steps, the more color hues the squiggle will display. So that's why fuzzies will always tend to be more colorful due to the 1000 steps. Of course, there will be a range, taking into account the steps and the color spread of the fuzzy, but the range of fuzzies will be on the more colorful, range of Slinkies and pipes on the more monochromatic side. Now, let's see what we covered on the last two sessions. Session 1 was the spectrum pyramid, and we were expanding von Mises' work on perfect and full spectrums, always giving credit to him. And we introduced doubles, triples, and rainbows. Those are increasing in number of color hues. Doubles are within 1% of 512 color hues. That's a perfect, 256 color hues times 2. Triples are within 1% of 768, 3 times a perfect. And rainbows are the highest number of color hues in a normal squiggle. So we have the most colorful normals, the 2 rainbows, and we also mentioned that the 2 rainbows plus the 8 triples are the top 10 most colorful squiggles, excluding hypers and fuzzies. So if we sort by color hues, you're going to get the two rainbows at the top and then the 8 triples. Within those 10, there are 9 normals and 1 ribbed. That ribbed is the most colorful rib that exists, and we call it a rainbow rib. So we already have seen, or we have covered, the most colorful normals and the most colorful ribbed. Then session 2 was a deep dive on fuzzies, and we introduced rainbow fuzzies. Those are the 3 most colorful fuzzies that exist. So we already have seen most colorful fuzzies, ribs, and normals. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool to see the most colorful for each squiggle type? So let's go over them. We have the 2 rainbow normals already covered. These are the 2 normals with the maximum number of color hues. And they are 200 steps, fixed for normals, 20 segments, the longest possible, and the lowest color spread, which is 5. Then we have the 2 rainbow Slinkies, and these are the 2 most colorful Slinkies that exist. These have 50 steps, fixed for Slinkies, lowest color spread, which is 5, and 18 segments. So as we have still remaining means, it's possible to have a more colorful Slinky, that it would be a Slinky with a color spread of 5, but more than 18 segments, so 19 or 20 segments, it would be a more colorful Slinky than these 2. Then the rainbow fuzzies, already covered as well, but as a reminder, these are the 3 most colorful fuzzies that exist, and these have 1000 steps, color spread 5, and 19 segments. So again, still possible to have a more colorful fuzzy, and it would be a color spread 5 with 20 segments instead of 19. Then we have the rainbow ribbed, and we are going by type rarity. And this one is also a triple. As we mentioned, this is within the top 10 most colorful squiggles, excluding hypers and fuzzies. And this is also a 200 steps, color spread 5, 19 segments. So it's again happening the same situation than with Slinkies and Fuzzies, that we have that it can be another squiggle, another ribbed that is more colorful than this one in the remaining means. It would be at 200 steps, 20 segments, color spread 5 instead of the 19 segments that this one has. And that's going to happen with all the squiggle types, with the exception of the 2 rainbow normals. So that's giving us an idea of how special those 2 rainbow normals are. Then one of our favorites, that's the rainbow bolt, the most colorful bolt that exists. And this is at 200 steps, 16 segments, color spread 5. Again, as it's happening across the almost all the types, we can still see a more colorful bolt in the remaining means. It can be a color spread 5 with more than 16 segments, or even a color spread 6 with 20 segments would be more colorful than this one. Probability really low, but it can still happen. An incredible piece, if you ask us. Now, let's finish with the most colorful pipe. This is the rainbow pipe, and it's the most colorful pipe that exists, and it's a 50 steps, 17 segments, color spread 5. And let's see the family photo. These are the most colorful squiggles of each type. As mentioned, all of them, with the exception of the 2 rainbow normals, can see squiggles minted with more color hues, which that's, in my opinion, telling us how rare those 2 rainbow normals are, because those are the perfect combination of segments and color spread to give the maximum number of color hues in a squiggle, and that's pretty rare. Then, highlighting a couple things. First, that probably some of you already know that there are only 113 squiggles with a color spread 5. That's the lowest color spread, as we've mentioned, that gives you or produces a lot of color hues or very colorful squiggles. And to put it into perspective, color spread 5s are more scarce, rarer than hypers or pipes. So these are pretty special as well. Some of these color spread 5s have already been highlighted as rainbows. By definition, those rainbows have been the longest possible for each squiggle type with a color spread 5. But there is something to be said about short squiggles. They look really clean, and when we combine the color spread 5 with the shortest possible squiggle, those with 12 segments, we find really beautiful pieces, and we call them rainbow shorties. In my opinion, they are amazing. So these are 200 steps, 12 segments, the shortest possible, but the maximum number of color hues due to the color spread 5. So within 12 segments, we pack as many colors as possible. There are just 9 with that combination, so shorter but color spread 5, 12 segments and color spread 5. And in our opinion, we are creating a category just for these 9 because they deserve to be highlighted. All very special pieces. So far, we've seen really colorful squiggles, but we should explore the other side of the spectrum. What about squiggles with the least number of color hues? We call them monochromes. And first, we just started looking for the most monochromatic squiggles, and that's how we were envisioning if we create a gallery, a physical gallery one day with our collection, we were envisioning the taking you into a trip of increasing number of color hues, the doubles, the triples, the rainbows, and then going down to the most monochromatic squiggles possible to show people what's possible within the collection. So for monochromatic squiggles, we are going to be looking for Slinkies or pipes due to the 50 steps that are short and with a high color spread. Now we are looking for the opposite as before. And we found 4 monochromes. These are all Slinkies, 50 steps, 12 segments, and a color spread of 49. So again, as it was happening with the rainbows, it's still possible to have a more monochromatic Slinky or pipe in the remaining means. It would be one with 12 segments and a color spread of 50 versus 49 that these have. So we have these 4 monochromes. Then we said, what about the most monochromatic normal squiggles? We need to make the differentiation because by default, the monochromatic range is going to be full of Slinkies and pipes. So we went for the most monochromatic normals. we have the normal monochrome, and we have 19 of those. These are 200 steps, 12 segments, again, the shortest possible, and color spread 49. And as it was happening with the monochromes, it can still appear a more monochromatic normal squiggle, one with 12 segments and a color spread of 50 versus 49. And between finishing this research and releasing it, one got minted, and we call it perfect normal monochrome. And why do you see in more colors in some of them, although they have the least amount of color hues possible? Because Snowflow was explaining this to us the last spaces we did with him. Some colors are longer than others. That's why you see, for example, purple, blue squiggles, green squiggles that are almost all green, almost all blue, but no yellow squiggles, because yellow is a shorter color. So depending on the color, you will see a more monochromatic or less, but technically, that's the most monochromatic you can get in number of color hues. Something worth mentioning as well, that there are just 33 squiggles with a color spread 50. And that's interesting because color spread goes from 5 to 50, with the exception of hypers that have 0.5. So there are all those values as possibilities. And for each value, each color spread value, there are between 100 and 300 pieces, around 200 squiggles on average. As an example, there are around 250 color spread 9s, 185 color spread 40s. I was looking at this data just to share it with you. Even is true with hypers. There are 127 hypers with a color spread of 0.5. And color spread 50 is an outlier, as there are only 33. So we are not creating a special category for this, but just something worth mentioning. Now, and we are almost finishing. What do we do as a DAO with this information? As always, we are going to try to acquire some, because part of our mission is building the biggest but also the best collection of squiggles. And we think these pieces are adding that interesting, that story to tell to our collection. We couldn't buy any of these rainbows. Luckily, we have one of the 9 rainbow shorties, and this was a contribution during the 2 contribution rounds we did during April and May 2021. So we didn't need to purchase this one. And for the monochromes, we purchased one of the normal monochromes, one of the 19 normal monochromes, for 6.5 ETH. We think that it really complements really well our collection and adds a little bit of that, what we were saying, that story to tell if we are showing someone our collection. So that's why we purchased this specific piece. And just to highlighting one of our favorite pieces, it's our rainbow shorty. This is number 7958. One of the 9 rainbow shorties that exist, and as we mentioned, donated to the DAO during the contribution rounds in early 2021. And it's crazy beautiful. I think rainbow shorties are one of my favorite traits.